Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the DFS Hockey Report. Thank you so much for joining me on this Monday afternoon. No Zach Lang with us, which has become the norm now on Monday's solo show here on Monday. We had a 6-game NHL slate, but just a 5-game DFS slate tonight. The Red Wings and Predators got underway at 2 p.m. Eastern. Apparently, the NHL is just trying to have more primetime games in Europe, something that they're testing, which I think is a pretty cool idea. I don't mind watching the Red Wings or any team at 2 p.m. on a Monday afternoon. So I think it's neat. Obviously, if you're, don't have a real job and like I do, um, or if you do have a real job, unlike I do, something like that, and you're missing games, that could be a bit of a bummer, but I still think it's interesting for our European hockey fans. So, 5-game slate, pretty interesting. Before we get into it tonight, listen to Nick, like, subscribe, join the Discord. Zach, can we get a DK contest going tonight, sir? Yeah. So we have a DK contest every night in the Discord. Just a couple bucks. So if you're starting to kind of just get into DFS because you're watching this show, it's a good place to start. A lot of helpful people in there as well. It's also where the charts, which you'll see here in a moment, get posted. This might be the most Brock slate ever. Colorado 2, Carolina 2, no ownership and grading out well. Yeah, can't wait to get to that in a little bit. But yeah, it is a fun looking 5-game slate. Just before we dive in though, obviously trade deadline week here in the NHL. So a very busy time here at dailyfaceoff.com. I run the trade tracker and all that, so it does get pretty busy this time of year. So we plan on doing a show every day, Monday through Thursday. There will be no show Friday on the trade deadline itself, but Monday through Thursday, we plan on doing a show every day, so long as there's not like 100 trades. But let's dive into tonight's slate. I don't want to waste too much time here. We've got Igor Shesterkin getting the start for the New York Rangers. It's going to be Elvis Merzlikins getting the start for the Columbus Blue Jackets. The Toronto Maple Leafs likely to go with Anthony Stolarz tonight. They're also going to put Nylander and Matthews together on the top line. Dan Vladar gets a start for the Philadelphia Flyers. Travis Konechny is a game time decision there. Nikita Tolopilo gets the nod for the Vancouver Canucks. He's actually been very, very good as of late. We'll dive into that game here in a few minutes. And Jake Ondra starts for the Dallas Stars, who will be once again without Rupe Hintz and Mikko Rantanen this evening. The Seattle Kraken will go with Joey Daccord, likely going to see Frederik Andersen for the Hurricanes. Got to be the first time he started 2 in a row in forever. He did play really well against the Red Wings over the weekend. And Brandon Bussi has faded a little bit here in his last, handful of starts. Anton Forsberg, really good in his last outing. He'll get the start tonight. Probably partially in part of or due to that start that he just had, but also Darcy Kemper is day to day with an illness. The Kings pretty short-handed tonight as well. No, obviously Kevin Fiala, but no Kuzmenko, no Armia, no Doughty, no Kemper, and no Trevor Moore. So missing a couple of key power play guys in Fiala and Kuzmenko. Obviously, they brought over Panarin, and he's going to replace Fiala. Also missing a couple of key penalty killers in Armia and Trevor Moore when they go up against the Avalanche tonight, who will go with Mackenzie Blackwood most likely. So those are your 10 starting goalies for tonight's slate. Let's dive on in. We'll start up the very top here with the New York Rangers hosting the Columbus Blue Jackets. The Rangers have struggled on home ice this year. No surprises there. And they have been or they are home underdogs in this one, plus 106 against the Blue Jackets. Really, really poor offensive numbers here for the New York Rangers offensively. The Blue Jackets have really turned a corner. We talked about it a lot when Rick Bowness was hired, that we expected it to be kind of a drastic shift in approach from the Columbus Blue Jackets, and that really has come to fruition. Much tighter defensively, offensively, maybe a little bit less firepower. They're just not scoring as much as they were, which is fine. They're winning hockey games, and he's got them working well. So it does look like a tough spot here for the New York Rangers. Decent spot for the Blue Jackets. Nothing really to talk about here in terms of the special teams. Sup, guys? What's up, Darren? What's up? Columbus has been bad defensively since coming back from the break, but they play in the Rangers makes me want to puke. Yeah, like obviously a couple games sample too, right? Like we can put a lot of stock into 2 games, or we can not overreact. I'm going to try not to, but yeah, the Blue Jackets have looked a little bit worse out of the break, but it is worth mentioning too. We'll get into the Rangers stats here in a second. The top line, it looks okay for the Rangers tonight. Columbus Blue Jackets metrics look more and more like a bonus team. Exactly. Like they're this is what he does. He's defense first, sometimes to a fault. But let's take a look at the matchups for tonight's game. Pretty good matchups across the board here for the or for the Rangers. I think in part, like right, we've got those weighted team ratings, and that takes a lot more of the recent games into account, where the line stats takes more of the full season into account. So some of these Blue Jackets lines will grade out maybe a little bit worse defensively, and a lot of that has to do with kind of like the pre-bonus numbers. So you got to kind of use these two numbers together and try to figure out what is truth, what is not. Basically, for the Rangers, it kind of just feels like it's going to be this top line or bust. They're the only line that's even generating anything of substance here as of late in terms of 5v5 metrics. And then again, with no real power play advantage to speak of at all in this game on either side of the puck. You basically just have to look at the Rangers at 5v5 and just hope that that top line can get it done in some capacity. They do grade out really well for us tonight. Third best overall. They are relatively inexpensive, and they are seeing a fair amount of ownership. If we take a look at the overall slate in terms of forward projections, in terms of the own percentage here, I mean, Zibanejad, Miller, and Perreault are all three within. Well, I mean, Zibanejad and Miller are within the top 7 in terms of forward ownership, and Perreault down at 12th. So it is going to be one of the higher owned stacks of the night, which, when you think about it, like, it doesn't feel that great playing the New York Rangers. I part of me wants like to fade this chalk entirely because it does feel like pretty gross chalk, and I think that it makes Elvis Merzlikins a pretty interesting play tonight. He's only seen 5% ownership. He's been pretty good, much better goalie with bonus behind the bench, which I think makes a lot of sense. Had obviously wasn't great against the Bruins, but something like, oh man, when did bonus take over? I think he's like got a 916, 915-ish save percentage since bonus took over. So I think Merzlikins is interesting in terms of like a chalk busting play, not seeing a lot of ownership because, like, yeah, like the Rangers do struggle to score, and chalky New York Rangers feels gross. In the same breath, they're just so inexpensive that it's pretty easy to justify paying that $14,800 price tag. And then when we take a look at the forward projections, I mean, these guys are projected for 18 minutes at not very expensive price tag. So I can kind of get why the Rangers are seeing some ownership, but at the same time, it doesn't feel like the best chalk. And I do think that makes Merzlikins a pretty interesting play. Like, Zibanejad grades out pretty well. Miller's just kind of okay. And then Perreault's, who knows where he is. But yeah, kind of gross chalk, to be honest with you. So I like the Merzlikins play tonight. On the Columbus side of things, this top line grades out pretty well, 6th best. The problem, oh, I just closed that tab. That is not what I meant to do at all. Here we go. Just got to make this a little bit bigger again. Something like that. The top line just really hasn't done a whole lot. Like, they've scored a ton, but they haven't generated as much as we'd like to see. The second line's got great offensive metrics. I don't know how much faith I want to put into that, especially considering matchup isn't great, and like, maybe a Monahan Jenner mini stack, but they just don't play enough. Where Columbus 3 plays a little bit more, their underlying metrics are pretty good. Maybe get to some Coil, but that's probably it. So, kind of a long-winded way of saying here that, like, this game doesn't draw a ton of my interest. I want to get into some Columbus potentially, but Igor Shesterkin's obviously very good. So this does have the feel of a bit of a lower scoring game, and it is seeing a very healthy dose of ownership. So I think, like, for me, I kind of want to take a stand against this game and then just hope that lower scoring game kind of does end up happening and breaking out. And I think it makes the goaltending situation in this game interesting, right? Merzlikins I already mentioned, but then Shesterkin, man, just $7,600. Going to see a lot of volume tonight. Not seeing a ton of ownership of the fourth or fifth highest owned goalie on the slate. So I like the goalies in this game. Obviously on the blue line, Zach Werenski is going to be a great play. He's going to see a ton of ownership. Adam Fox is going to see a ton of ownership tonight. He's going to be a good play. Like, I don't mind mixing in pieces of this game, but it's not going to be like the overwhelming majority of my lineups. I'm not going to get too carried away. Outside of those defensemen and those goalies, sprinkle in these stacks a little bit, but nothing really standing out. I mean, even New York 2's drawing a lot of ownership. They have done absolutely nothing offensively, so I won't play them for sure. So maybe a little bit of that New York 1 chalk, and definitely coming in under the field on New York 2. Fantilli Marchment mini stacks are appealing to me. Yeah, like I think like the price tag, right, for 57 and 4,700 makes them interesting. I'm a little bit concerned um about the underlying metrics. They just haven't been that great. So hopefully this ends up being a lower scoring game, and I'll look smart here. Elvis has a 916 save percentage since June 13th. Yeah, that's the number I was trying to pull up. I couldn't remember the exact date that bonus was hired. I thought it was the 12th. So yeah, he is 5-2 with a 916 save percentage, just 2 goals against per game for Merzlikins. Thank you so much, Lucas. Okay, let's get to game number 2. We've got the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Philadelphia Flyers. So the Maple Leafs coming off basically their worst loss of the season, or I guess an embarrassing enough loss for Austin Matthews to come out and actually say that it was embarrassing. Normally, they're just like the kings of the buzzword, like, yeah, the effort was there, and that's about it from the Leafs. But he finally said something, and you know what? I think like you want to expect a little bit more from the Maple Leafs tonight after a performance like that. This is a really pivotal week for them, right? Like they lose tonight, like they have no choice but to sell. Like they're out of it. But everything's so tight. One win could be back into it, get the people going again. The one thing that's super interesting for this game, I was looking at it earlier, like the Flyers, we talk about the Flyers a lot, being a good defensive team. They're very good defensively on home ice, right? They do a really good job matching up, especially with the Noah Cates line. They actually give up half a goal more per game on the road. When they can't dictate those matchups, which is just totally crazy, right? A lot of teams are like that. But the Flyers, half a goal is a pretty significant difference. And the Leafs actually score half a goal more on home ice. So it'll be interesting here. I do like the Leafs. I think like obviously the fact that they can dictate those matchups and get the Matthews line away from the Cates line, it looks like they're going to put them up against the top line of the Philadelphia Flyers, which has pretty bad defensive metrics. I'm a little surprised the offensive metrics for Matthews and Nylander with McMahon. Not amazing. They're kind of underwhelming, but I do think like this is a matchup that the Leafs, we're projecting for 50%. I think we could see that and then some potentially. And that would be a really nice matchup for the Matthews line tonight. I think that they can certainly take advantage of that. You want to try to avoid this Cates and Couturier line. They've just been so good defensively. So if they can get that matchup the way they want it, I do think that the top line for the Maple Leafs can have a lot of success. What that means for the rest of the lineup is that they are going to spend a lot of time against the second and third lines of the Flyers and probably not find much success. So Nyes, Tavares, Domi, Michelli, Nick Waugh, and Joseph probably not in play for me tonight. But the Leafs top line, man, looks really, really good tonight. I'm super interested in getting this Matthews and Nylander mini stack together. Certainly don't mind including Bobby McMahon at 3,900. Really nice price tag for him. He has had success on this top line with Matthews. So I'm hoping the matchups end up coming out the way that we are expecting them to here, because it could be an impactful night for Toronto. Obviously you've got Matthews and you've got Nylander on that top power play unit. Not a whole lot here, right? The Leafs power play is pretty good, but so is the Flyers penalty kill. The Leafs also just do not draw many penalties at all. So not a whole lot to write home about on the power play tonight, but I do like the 5v5 matchup for Toronto 1. The rest of the team could be in a little bit more hot water. Go back here. The Leafs obviously really struggling to defend. It's a team, you can probably sum up their season in that one goal that they gave up last week where they tripped each other and led to a breakaway. And that's kind of just how things have felt for Toronto this year. Defensively, it's been a bit of a disaster. The metrics here suggest very similar things. So yeah, I think you could certainly get to some Philadelphia tonight. The top line, in that matchup with the Matthews line with Nylander does not grade out very well defensively. So that is a matchup that looks like both of these teams could trade chances, or both of these lines could trade chances. A lot of my interest in Philadelphia 1 hinges on Travis Konechny's availability. Konechny plays, I'm in. Konechny doesn't play, less in. But Zegras, Dvorak, Konechny at just 15,800 looks like a nice value stack. They grade out second best for us. They just really, really good offensive metrics. It hasn't really gone anywhere. The matchup tonight looks pretty good if they see a lot of that Matthews line. So yeah, I'm in. I think like when you take a look at the rest of this team, matchups for the rest of this team are pretty good too. The offensive metrics, maybe not so great. Like this third line's good, but like how much you really trust Sean Couturier. I know Denver Barkey is a local kid, so maybe a little extra jam for him tonight, $2,600. Maybe you work in a Denver Barkey Owen Tippett mini. Don't mind it. 6%. I think that's fair. Get them in 5-10%. Cool. Mishkov's playing well as of late. had a nice break. They're very cheap. I don't mind mixing in Philadelphia too as some salary relief tonight. But again, not getting carried away. But I think that, yeah, it's a pretty good spot for the Flyers to score some goals. I think it's a pretty good spot for the Leafs to score some goals as well. So I like this game. I think it's a better game environment than maybe it feels and looks on the surface. I think that, yeah, both teams, I think the Flyers represent more of a value opportunity. I think Toronto 1 could have a really big game tonight. Here's hoping I'm not eating my words later tonight. Okay, Vancouver and Dallas. Now we're getting into the late games. We got 3 games in the late window. Nikita Tolopilo, I brought him up, and he's playing really well. And I mean, especially when you compare him to Kevin Lankinen. Lankinen's been horrific. But Tolopilo, man, his last 4 starts have been really, really good. 945 save percentage, 1.8 goals against. Again, I don't want to put too much stock in the small samples here coming out of the break, but the Canucks have looked a little bit better defensively. Obviously, a lot healthier than they have been basically all season. So Tolopilo, I think, is kind of interesting and somebody that could stymie the Stars a little bit tonight, at least more than Lankinen would have. The Canucks, though, from like a DFS standpoint, I really don't have much interest. I think it's so hard to get to this team. The matchups are really good for the second and third line. Problem is, I don't know how much interest I have in playing the second and third line. You could maybe talk me into a little bit of this third line as a value stack. I don't think there's an overwhelming ceiling here. Maybe a little bit of Connor Garland. I just don't really see myself clicking on the Canucks much in this game. If the Canucks are able to win this game, it's got to be low scoring. And I think that Tolopilo is an interesting play. I think some of the blue liners are interesting for salary relief, but I don't think I'm going to play many Vancouver stacks this evening. As good as Tolopilo's been, the power play advantage here for Dallas is overwhelming. We talked about it last week that the power play probably isn't going to be as good without Rupe Hintz and without Mikko Rantanen. I think that rings true, but it's not like Jamie Benn and Matt Duchene are slouches. They obviously looked good against the Kraken. I still think this is a power play that's in a good spot. We have talked about Matt Duchene a lot as of late. He has been scorching hot. He's up to $5,200. I think it's still a pretty good price tag. Jamie Benn doesn't provide much of a floor, but so long as he's on that top power play unit, he's playing like 15, 16 minutes a night at 4K, I'm interested. So don't mind getting those 2 in tonight as a value stack again. I'm not going to get too carried away because the underlying metrics on them at 5v5 are horrifically bad. But the matchup is great. So like they might be able to offset some of those bad metrics with a nice performance here against Vancouver 1, who are just disastrous defensively. They're going to see about 69% of their ice time nice against Vancouver 1. So it does look like a matchup that Benn and Duchene can take advantage of. Plus you add in the additional power play usage on that top unit. I think they're a great play again. This top line, Robertson, Johnston, and Bork. I mean, the ownership here is massive. I think it's super fair. Great 5v5 matchup. Actually, their 5v5 matchup's a little trickier because that Blueger line's pretty good defensively, but I still don't think that they're really going to slow Dallas 1 down. The underlying metrics here are insanely good. They can't score, which is crazy to me. So yeah, some positive regression is coming their way. You factor in their power play advantage. You factor in their 5v5 underlying metrics. This looks like a good spot for this Dallas top power play unit as a whole. I think that I'm going to end up, if I'm 20 maxing tonight, say, I think I'm going to end up coming in under the field on Dallas just because I think that they're going to catch even more steam. I would be, Robertson and Johnson probably coming in 25%. I would be shocked that Duchene isn't closer to 15%, Benn closer to 10%. I think they're going to be the highest owned team on the slate. And I think that Vancouver, not expecting them to win there. How big of underdogs are they? Yeah, they're 170 plus 176 home dogs here. But I think Tolopilo is interesting as a flyer tonight at 7K. Gonna face a ton of volume. And yeah, if they can win this game 3-2 or something like that, just steal one, it's gonna be a good play. So if I'm building one lineup, is it gonna be Tolopilo? No. Am I still gonna play Dallas tonight? Yes. Am I gonna come in under the field? Probably. Stars better score at 5v5 or on the power play because 5v5 is trash. Yes, that's very true. Kane needs to get traded so Carlson can take a spot and we'll get a playable Vancouver line. Yeah, I don't know why Carlson is buried in the 4th line. Like DeBrusk, Pedersen, and Carlson have insanely good metrics together. I don't know why they keep breaking them up. Makes no sense. Saw a big Wings trade and Canucks trade on Twitter today. Yeah, it was fake. The Hockey News fell for it, and it was awesome. I tweeted about it, and it's blowing up, which is hilarious. I just don't know how we fall for parody accounts in 2026 anymore. Turn on the insiders notifications on your phone so you don't fall for this stuff. It's that simple. Dallas mega chalk versus Nashville. They're gonna be like 50% or something stupid today. Yeah, possible for sure. Love when Kane has 10 shots and no goals, no assists, but you get the shot bonus. Yeah, it's always an added bonus, literally. Okay, let's get to game number 4. Seattle hosting the Carolina Hurricanes. Seattle pretty sizable underdogs here on home ice. This profile is very much what you'd expect to see from the Seattle Kraken. Not very good offensively, pretty good defensively, just meh on the special teams. Carolina hasn't been as great as of late, but I'm not that worried. I think they played well coming out of the break, which is I love to see. Overall, the weighted team ratings just kind of okay as of late, but this is a very, very good hockey team, and I am very comfortable getting to them this evening. So we'll start on the Seattle side of things because for me, it has been mostly just this top line or bust for the Seattle Kraken, and that is going to continue this evening. And that's not what I meant to do. Just bring up the fourth game. They're not drawing much ownership at all tonight. Sorry, they're actually seeing about 8%, which is nothing crazy. They're very, very cheap. They're going to see a lot, about 54% of the ice time projected against Carolina 2, which if there's a line that you can take advantage of from the Hurricanes, it is Carolina 2. 3.0 expected goals against per 60. They're not terrible, but they're not great. So that is the one line that I would target from the Seattle Kraken. They have the best offensive metrics, and they have the best matchup by far. But again, not going to get carried away here, 10% maybe. Carolina, I got a lot of interest in. Like I said, they're playing very well. Carolina 2 does not have a very good matchup up against that Beniers line, which worries me a little bit. But their offensive metrics are so good. Jackson Blake and Taylor Hall have been really good. As a value option, I love Carolina 2. I don't know why they're not seeing more ownership. I played them a ton the other night. I should have had a massive night on Saturday. I had Carolina 2, Hall and Blake mini stack with a Nick Suzuki and Cole Caulfield mini stack. The problem is I played them almost exclusively with Tampa 1 and Vasilevsky. So I had it was just devastating. I did not diversify the portfolio nearly enough. Really stupid. It was my mom's birthday. I was up against a time crunch. I was building lineups very quickly. And then looking back on it, I should be rich, but I'm not. We'll get rich tonight. It's fine. Hall and Blake, love that mini stack. Don't mind getting Stankoven in either, but just less so. But if you need a cheap center, he's fine. Carolina 1 looks like they're in a very good spot tonight. The matchup against the top 6 is good. They're going to see a lot of the second line for the Seattle Kraken, which, as we know, not very good defensively. Very, very good metrics for Carolina 1. They're outstanding. They play a little bit less than your average top line, but they are still not that expensive at $19,700. I think you can definitely justify it. Wouldn't be surprised if they come in a little bit higher owned. Love Carolina 1 tonight if you can fit them in with some cheaper stacks. Carolina 3, it's kind of like the same old story. This does kind of feel like a Carolina 3 type game, with Ehlers, and the underlying metrics are good. They're going to see a little bit of this third line. They're going to see a lot of the fourth line, though, which is pretty good defensively. So I don't know if I'm going to get to a ton of Carolina 3, mostly the top 6, but it does kind of have that feel of like a possible Carolina 3 game here in a small slate. So don't mind them at 4% ownership. And then, on the power play, third best power play advantage for the Carolina Hurricanes. We've talked about it a lot. The Kraken penalty kill is very, very bad. So guys like Shane Gostisbehere, maybe a better play tonight than normal. And then obviously that top line. You got Jarvis, you got Aho, you got Svechnikov, all up there. So Carolina 1 is the kind of elite ceiling play in this game. Carolina 2 is just a fantastic value option. And then Seattle 1 feels good. And don't mind sprinkling in a little bit of Carolina 3 either. It sucks when you're half right. Yeah, if I would have just put him with like Johnson and Robertson, I would have nuked. I think that ended up being close to optimal, and I just didn't. Idiot. Anyway, LA and Colorado. So as I mentioned off the top, LA is just super banged up. They aren't scoring goals. They're going up against a good Colorado team. I don't think that this game is going to be very close. I think that, I don't think it's going to be crazy high scoring, but I can see Colorado winning this game like 4-1. That's the way I feel this game is going to go. So yeah, I like Colorado in this one. No surprise there. Top line grades out fantastic. They're seeing a boatload of ownership. Tom said off the top, Colorado 2. I've loved them, and they're super low owned tonight. New coach bump. Yeah, I would agree with you. New coach bump if it wasn't DJ. But we'll see. Let's get to the matchups. Best matchup for the Avs is the second line. Best matchup for the Kings is the top line. Pretty simple. The underlying metrics for LA1, not good. Probably not going to get there. LA2 has really good metrics. I think it's a little bizarre. I don't know where they're coming from. Apparently, Alex Turcotte's just the best player in the league. They just don't play him. I don't mind Byfield and Laferriere and Turcotte as a mini stack or as a stack just because they're so cheap. I think, yeah, like Byfield's seen some ownership, has been for the last couple games. I don't mind getting them as a cheap stack. I'd rather play a value stack against the Avs in this spot than the LA1. I just don't think a Kopitar led line is going to have that much success offensively against the Avs. But yeah, Colorado 1. Obviously, don't need to say too much. The power play advantage is huge here. Their power play sucks, but they're going up against a bad PK and a very undisciplined Kings team. They should be able to find success. They fully correlate on that top power play unit as well. You got Landeskog, you got Netchas, you've got McKinnon and Makar. So lots to like about Colorado 1, obviously. I think there's plenty of value spots on tonight's slate. You can easily get to Colorado 1 with regularity. Colorado 2 looks great. Lehkonen, Nelson, Nichushkin, they're not expensive. Their matchup is the best. They're going to see the best in this game. They're going to see a lot of that second line, which is like, I guess, bad defensively. It's just the worst of the Kings have. But the underlying metrics continue to just be fantastic. They're in fact better than Colorado 1. So yeah, I love Colorado 2 at low ownership tonight. No surprise there. This third line is kind of interesting too, right? Like really good metrics. The matchup isn't great, but like from a value standpoint, Colton, Drury, Olsen, like no one's playing them in a super deep tournament. I don't mind. Like the underlying metrics are crazy good. So they can be worth a click. Obviously not going to get to a ton of them, but one lineup, sure. LA or Colorado 1, obviously. Colorado 2. I talk about them time and time again. I just can't stop talking about them. Brock Nelson's been incredible this year. Didn't the Kings lose to an AHL team last week? Yeah, I think that probably had something to do with coach getting fired. LA bottom 6 looks like a dumpster fire. It's pretty true. They do have a guy named Kenny Powers on the team, which I think is fun. Not actually Kenny Powers, but Kenny Connors. Just a mix of Kenny Powers and Kyle Connor. Pretty fun. But yeah, this is it's a tough looking team right now. Just so many injuries. Is it really worth being the first to post an article about stuff like that? No, it is not. That's the hockey news getting got by fake Elliot Friedman today. Love to see it. It's still fun. That's like got to be their Super Bowl, right? Like if you're the guy behind those accounts and you post these fake trades, like when it gets picked up, it's got to be the best feeling. I don't know why people do the fake trades. Not me, but I think it's funny when they get got. Okay. Hopefully I don't get got this week because I'm talking a lot of smack here. But let's talk about defensemen and goalies here. I talked about Fox. Obviously, no Drew Doughty. Brant Clark grades out really well. Don't like the matchup, but he's going to play so many minutes at $5,400. I'm fine with Brant Clark tonight. Again, really good floor for him as of late. Joel Edmondson also going to have a good floor. Probably going to block 100 shots tonight. Probably one of my favorite value defensemen. Matthew Robertson grades out really well again tonight. So do the Carolina defensemen, no surprise, right? You got Miller, you got Gostisbehere, you got Nikishin, you've got Walker. Like all those guys are firmly in play this evening. Who's the field playing? Morgan Riley seeing some ownership. I think it's fine. I don't mind. I like Toronto 1 tonight. Hronik, I talked about the Vancouver Canucks defenseman being solid. Hronik's always going to play a bunch of minutes. Tom Willander, $2,500 is fine. That's pretty much it. Let me know if there's anybody sticking out to you in the chat as your favorite value defenseman. I always like looking at the floor. I don't know why I just don't include the floor. I used to, and I just deleted it for no reason. So I should bring that back. Also, if you're new and you want to join the DFS Discord, do that, please. Brant Clark, yeah, he's got a great floor. Edmondson, Robertson, Slavin, Schneider, McCabe, all kind of cheaper guys. Walker, I love Walker tonight. Let's get to the goalies. Talked about him a little bit already. Some of my faves. I like Blackwood. Like I said, I think it's like a 4-1 Avs win. I think Blackwood's fine. I just don't know how much volume he's going to see, but he feels like one of the safer plays. Obviously, Odger feels like you're kind of locking up a W, but I actually like Blackwood a little more because Odger's just going to see no volume at all. So I'll probably stay away there. Don't really like Stellars. I saw a tweet today, though, like Philly hasn't won in Toronto in like 100 years. So maybe Stellars is a good play. He's okay. Obviously, former Flyer as well. Going to feel a little bit extra vibes there, but probably leaning a little bit more towards Shesterkin and Merzlikins and Tolopilo and Blackwood. And then I don't mind Decord either. Like just because he's so much volume at $7,500. He is the highest on goalie of the night. which I don't love, and I like Carolina. So I won't get to his ownership point, but I don't mind sprinkling him in those Carolina fades. I think he's in a good spot to see a lot of volume, and they could certainly steal that game. I don't know how likely it is, but I like Decor tonight a little bit tonight. Defensemen that do a lot of shit. That's basically what I just showed. The floor here. Cheap guys: Lindell, Edmondson, York, Riley, Malinsky, Slavin, Schneider, McCabe, Robertson, Walker, Gosper. Those are you're doing a lot of shit defensemen. Got here late. Are you on Philly 1 if Konechny plays? Yeah, there's the only I like Philly. They're okay. Philly 1's got a really nice matchup. They grade out second best tonight. They got a really nice matchup with that Matthews line that just isn't very good defensively with Nylander up there. So yeah, if Konechny plays, I'm in. They have really good underlying metrics. I'm fine with that. Just obviously kind of contingent on Konechny playing. Oops, people just got to learn to follow the reporters and only see who you follow. Yeah, they made it so much more difficult to do stuff like that though. But that's why you literally just put the notifications on for the insiders, then you never miss anything. Or just turn your notifications on for DFO Fantasy, and we'll do the hard work for you. How about that? Werenski, game time decision tonight. Ouch. Thanks, Beeps. Trade deadline is April Fools for hockey. Yeah, so true. All right, Brock's hat trick pick of the day. Yeah, let's get to the night's hat trick pick challenge. If you want to participate in tonight's hat trick pick challenge, all you got to do is drop your hat trick pick in the comment section of the video on YouTube. Not the live chat. Wait for the show to end. Drop it in there. If your player scores a hat trick, we'll get you a $25 gift card to Nation Gear. You can pick up some daily face-off swag. If a player scores a hat trick that nobody picked, we'll just raffle it off to anybody who submitted a pick. It's been a while since we've had a hat trick. I mean, we went on a run there where there's one like every night for a month, which was outrageous. Was it January? That was just like the most hat tricks ever. My hat trick pick tonight. Let's go with. I'm going to go Austin Matthews. I feel like the Leafs are going to have a big performance tonight. I don't know why. I'm not a Leafs fan, so don't come at me in the chat. I feel like they're going to keep hope just alive enough to do something stupid at the deadline. I think that's perfect. So yeah, I think Toronto 1 has a big game. I think it's a nice matchup. I'm going to go Austin Matthews for my hat trick pick. Drop yours in the chat. Holloway had it a couple days ago. No. Were we doing a show? Possibly. I'm saying like we haven't had one on the show, but maybe we missed one. It's possible. I'm not as locked in as a double kid dad now. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Shout out to our friends at rotogrinders.com for providing projected ownership for today's show. I'm trying to bring up our show here. How do I do this? All right. Still Inception. Let's go to the. All right. Let's make that bigger. So if you want to join the DFO DFS Discord, link is in the description of the video on YouTube. Sign up for Roto Grinders Premium. You get $20 off. You use this link, and you also get 20% off of Action Network Premium if you want to up your betting game. And then obviously hit that like button. Much appreciated. I don't know if liking your own video does anything, but I did anyway. Zach, if you're listening, we need a DK contest. He's listening. I'll remind him. I'll talk to him as soon as we're done. That would be very least like yes. And took down a nice showdown for 120. Congratulations. Hopefully we win more money tonight. Best of luck. Hopefully you return with more money in your bankroll. It's more than you had tonight. I'm Brock Seguin. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Cheers.